we need to have in a B school environment, and how we should interact with the students, and what is our role, what should be their role. So I focused more on that, more of abstract things. But this session, I'm going to deal more about the methods that we can use to make the students engaged in the classroom. I hope I'm audible, right? Clearly audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you started the class early. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I have just now,
Okay, okay.
hardly 10 seconds ago. Just 10
Okay,
seconds
okay, okay,
ago, I
okay.
started.
Thank you, thank you. Because still there's time, people are still joining. It's supposed to be 2:30, no? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
This session, I'm going to share again my experience in using various experiential learning methods in a B school. Mostly in IMT Nagpur, even before that also ICFI Business School, Hyderabad, I got that opportunity to use all these methods. So I'm going to share my experience, what worked, what did not work, how these methods, so that we can maximize the learning. So it's a kind of experiential learning session on experiential methods. So you may stop me if you have any doubts, if you have any queries, you can ask me. Simply unmute your mic and then you can start interacting, right? So as I told you, um, I'm going to briefly talk about the two theoretical models. The reason I have found these two models very useful for um, teaching in a B school, and that's the reason. I'm sure many of you would be knowing about these theoretical models, these two theoretical models, but still, I want to just touch upon the major aspects of these theoretical models, and so that I can build on the ideas. Right. One is Bloom's taxonomy, and Bloom's taxonomy, it's applied from even primary level education to even higher education, tertiary education. Basically, this model says that the learning can happen at different levels. There are 6 levels. Level 1 is remembering, understanding, and then it goes on up to creating. According to this theory, remembering and understanding are the kind of lower order learning level, whereas applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating are higher order learning levels. So the idea how we can use this model in our classroom, we have to ensure that the students uh, go from the lower level to higher levels. From level 1 and level 2 is very easy to achieve, but the challenging aspect here is how to push our students into level 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's the challenge. Right? Let me quickly explain these two levels. What is the idea behind these two levels? First one is the lower order learning needs, knowledge and comprehension. Knowledge is knowing something. Okay. If you are aware about some theory, then it is about knowledge. Yeah, I know about Maslow's theory. That is knowledge, right? So if a student says that Maslow hierarchical needs has got these levels, and it starts from physiological and it ends in self-actualization needs, then he has some knowledge about Maslow's theory. The next level is comprehension. If you ask him, can you explain the theory? Then if he explains physiological needs has got this food, shelter, then after that safety, then if he explains all that, then we can say the student has comprehended, he has understood the theory. These are lower order learning needs, right? But higher order learning needs has got these four levels. The application, whether the student is able to apply the theory into new situation and then explain what is happening in that situation, then can easy able to analyze how the according to the theory how the behavior is happening, that is analysis. Then is he able to synthesize, okay, there are different theories that explains about the human motivation, whether the student is able to synthesize all the ideas and then come out with his own theory of motivation. And finally, whether he is able to criticize or evaluate or assess each model after weighing the pros and cons of the theoretical models. So these are the higher order learning levels. The idea how this Bloom's taxonomy can be used, as I told you, it's very easy for them to operate at these two levels. Many times students think that if they know something, if they have understood something, that ends the matter, right? If they think that, okay, Michael Porter's five forces model, I know about it. So if you ask me in the examination, I will write about it. They think that the learning stops there. No, they should know how to apply all the theoretical concepts and explain what is happening outside, or whether they can assimilate the idea and then they can whether they could apply in their day-to-day life. That's where the higher order learning needs comes into the picture. So in our classroom, whatever we do with the students should always push the students into these levels, right? Suppose if I give some assignment to them, the assignment should be designed in such a way that the students can apply the concepts and then explain the situation, right? Or whether the student is able to analyze the situation and then come out with his own analysis. That's where the case method helps us. So if you look at carefully the sessions that we have planned for this FDP, all these sessions are the objective here is to help us to design our course curriculum as well as delivery so that the students will operate in these four levels. Case method actually pushes the students to apply and analyze and synthesize, finally evaluate their decisions. Case method is a wonderful example where we can push the students to operate in these four levels. Sometimes, again, in case method also, sometimes the students think that if I ask them, so okay, can you explain, have you analyzed the case? Typically, the conversation would be like this. The student would say, yes, sir, I have analyzed. Okay, can you share your analysis? The student would clearly summarize the case. Okay, the student, which means the student has perceived the case as a reading comprehension. She thought that it is a reading comprehension. If she could understand the case, that's all. That is what expected. That's what she feels. But which means she operates at the comprehension level, knowledge and comprehension. She's not going beyond that. Then I would ask, where is your analysis? Why do you think that protagonist is doing like that? What he should do? So these are the questions which would make them to suddenly they would realize, okay, whatever they have prepared is not sufficient for to answer my question, right? That's where the application and analysis is quite challenging, especially in the first term. Those who are coming to B school and then they start taking classes from us, then the case method may be very new for them. So they may find it very difficult to analyze the case and then share their analysis, right? So it's a constant, it will be a challenging scenario for us. So, but we have to help them to analyze the case in the right way. So some workshops can be organized so that they can operate in that way, right? Um, okay. This slide why I have included, because this slide clearly explains how a student can apply a theory into a new situation. I'm sure all of you must be knowing about Maslow's theory, and this is a very unique application of Maslow's theory and explaining the behavior of millennials. And it makes it, when I read the article for the first time, and it made sense to me. All the analysis that has been done here, it made sense to me. What the author has done, she has taken the Maslow's theory and she tried to explain millennials' behavior by putting neatly the gadgets and the social media usage into perfectly into the different levels of needs. And the author explains how the safety needs can be fulfilled for the millennials, if they why they are very um, concerned about the password protection. All that she could explain clearly. And self-actualization also, sometimes the millennials, they become YouTubers so that they can actualize themselves, their potential. So that is the trend that we see among the millennials, right? So this is a perfect example of application of a theory in explaining some new behavior, right? So this is what is expected. Then, if we say that if a student is doing this, then learning is really good. The higher order learning is happening. Recently, in my OB class, it happens. One of my students, he did interesting job. I explained to them Hofstede's cultural dimensions. You must be knowing the power distance, collectivism, individualism, right? There are five, six dimensions are there, and I explained to them clearly about all this and how different cultures do differ on these dimensions. In one of the assignments, the student has applied Hofstede's model to explain uh, COVID-19, the spreading phenomenon of the COVID-19 virus across different countries, right? This is an interesting idea, and he had found some interesting pattern in it. If the power distance is high, something is happening. The coronavirus cases are going up or down based on the dimensions he had analyzed. Or in other words, he tried to relate the Hofstede's cultural dimensions with the coronavirus cases, incidence of coronavirus cases in a country. That is a brilliant way to apply some framework to explain some of the behavior. So this is what is expected from management students, right? So the idea here is the Bloom's taxonomy would help us or would give us some idea how the students can be pushed into higher order learning space. And yesterday, one of the participants asked me about flipped classroom. And this is the flipped classroom model. The traditional model is in the classroom, typically a teacher would spend most of the time in making the students to understand the concepts, right? So that at the end of the class, the students would remember what is being taught. At the maximum, they could also explain the theoretical frameworks. And then they think the teacher would think that, okay, I have done a good job in the class today. And the students would also think, yes, I have learned something today. That is a traditional way of approach. Traditional way. It's a kind of a sage on the stage model. Yesterday I talked about. That is the traditional way of looking at things. But the flipped class model, what is happening? Let the students understand and get the knowledge outside the classroom. Whenever they come to classroom, it is a wonderful opportunity for them to share their thinking and then get the feedback from others who are also in the classroom. So classroom opportunity is a unique opportunity. They may not get outside. They may get together in some space, but again, it will be informal setup, right? In a classroom, it's a formal setup wherein a facilitator like me would be there. All the students would come there, and it is a great opportunity or for them to share their learning with each other so that they can learn from each other. Flipped classroom model focuses on that. So, as a teacher, uh, I should ensure the students let the students do the basic reading uh, outside the classroom. Before the classroom, they should come with a lot of preparation. And then in the classroom, I'm going to make them to discuss about the issue in hand so that they can learn from each other and so that they can also learn from me some fresh perspectives from me. So that is the idea behind flipped classroom model. Okay, so I hope you're getting that idea. Can anyone respond to me now? So I'm not. So
Yes, sir. It was me, Subrat,
Sir,
who
yes.
asked for this flip classroom, sir.
okay, okay.
Thank you, sir. I was waiting.
You're
Really, I was
welcome.
waiting for this, sir.
Yeah, this is the idea. So in the classroom, let's use the time so that they let them share about their thinking, about their learning, what they think about the situation, so that others will also react to that thought process. That is the reasoning behind flipped classroom, right? Any other thought about so far whatever I've covered here? So with that, that Bloom's taxonomy application comes to an end. Let me continue further.
Sir, sorry for the interruption.
Please, yeah,
Sir,
go ahead.
the last slide, sir. Please again, sir. The flipped
Yeah, yeah.
classroom.
Yes, yes, sure. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
So, in other words, what is this, the flipped classroom idea? Um, you ask the students, please, can you mute your mic? Yeah, yeah. Anybody, can you mute the mics? Yes. The idea is uh, ask the students to come prepared for every class. They should not simply walk in into the class and then sit and then listen to me. Okay, today, tell me what you want me to learn. That should not be the approach. Rather, for every class, they should come prepared. So generally, I don't spoon feed them. Spoon feeding is gone. Before 15 years before, I threw all that ideas. Spoon feeding. Uh, Generally, I don't spoon feed. If you want to ask me something, do some work and then ask me. I'll build on your idea. Or if you don't know, at least you can tell that. For every classroom, for every class, they have to come prepared. What I do, I give some reading material, maybe an article, a small article, or even a textbook material. They have to read and then come to the classroom. Then the learning would be maximized. For class case teaching also, the case needs to be read thoroughly. Otherwise, the case teaching will not work. If the students don't come prepared to the classroom, then gone. It will be really embarrassing situation for the teacher, because if no student would have come prepared, and you have to ask the question and you have to analyze the case and you should answer your own question. So that would be the case. So ensure that the student always come prepared to the class. They cannot simply walk into the class and then expect us, okay, today let me open my head and then you pour all your knowledge and let me get that knowledge and then close my head. That should not be the way. So let's co-create the knowledge in the classroom. Let's learn from each other. That is the beauty of case discussion. Why this is a very strong, powerful method? Because each situation can be analyzed from multiple dimension, right? So that the multiple dimension, not a single person can give that. So it has to come from different people. So if 60 students are there, then 60 plus 1, 61 perspectives can emerge in the classroom. So that's the idea behind flipped classroom model. So let them watch some video outside the classroom. Let them read some articles. Let them read the case, and then they let them come to the class to discuss about the situation, to debate. to ask questions, the right questions. So that should be the way. And that's how the classroom delivery should be designed. So that is the idea behind the Bloom's taxonomy in a flipped classroom. Let me move on to today's session, that is experiential learning methods with a special focus on management games. I know this is the second session for you. My colleague Smita would have talked about the games, how it is being used. I will also share the games that I use. Maybe you may get some unique perspective into that method, experiential learning method from me, because every faculty member here, they have got their own method of delivery, right? I may not be using the same movie in my class, or a different movie, different examples, different games, different role play exercise, right? Even the same game can be played in different versions, different varieties, right? So let me start the experiential learning method. You must be knowing this proverb: I hear and I forget, I see and I remember. That focuses on the visual appeal or the images, power of images. The third, I do, I understand better. The experiential learning methods are based on this principle. So idea here is, let students do something. So in that process, they will learn better. So that is the basic belief behind the experiential learning method. This is proverb, but fine-tuned and tested thoroughly by Kolb, and then he gave this idea of Kolb's learning style, the experiential learning style model. Again, in my opinion, this is again a very powerful learning theory that would find a lot of applications in our day-to-day life in B School. This has got 4 phases. This learning style model: concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, active experimentation. The idea here is concrete experience. Let the learner experience something, right? Maybe watching a movie or doing some activity. So that is a kind of concrete experience, right? Doing some task, right? That is experience. Once he experienced that, let him reflect on his experience. In other words, suppose if I play a game in the classroom, I there are a lot of things after playing the game. Then I do many things so that the learning can happen. I would ask them to reflect upon the experience. In other words, I would simply ask, what was their experience? Then he would say something. And did you observe your friend behave that way? Yes, sir. I did observe my friend was very vocal. He did not listen to me carefully. So this is reflective observation. So once he experienced that event, we are going to ask that learner to observe reflectively. That is reviewing, or it's kind of rumination, thinking about that experience, reflective observation. Then based on that, we are going to ask this learner to conceptualize. Okay, based on your experience, based on your observation about your behavior and others' behavior, can you come out with some model? Yes, sir. I dealt with the people from different countries. Then in a team game, I had to interact with a person from US and another person from Japan and another person from China. They behave differently. So based on that, this is what I could say about them. That is abstract conceptualization. In other words, the student will have some mental model in him that would help him to explain this is how the world operates. So we come to a conclusion, right? After we experience something, then we think about that experience, and then at the end of that thinking, then we would have developed some model, mental model about how people behave in this world. Maybe within India, suppose if we interact with somebody from West Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, then after reflecting that experience, then we may think that, okay, these people would behave like this only. That is abstract conceptualization. In other words, learners develop their own mental models that helps them to make sense of what is happening around them. That is abstract conceptualization. With that, he would try some new behavior. That is active experimentation. Because he had experienced something and he reflected, he thought about that experience. And based on that experience, he would have got some framework. Oh, next time when I meet them, I have to behave like that. So he would do like that. Suppose in a boss, he interacts for the first time with the boss. The boss likes whenever he goes with a proposal, with nicely worded proposal, and how he always tell how the proposal is going to help the boss goal, the target. Then the boss immediately approves. Yes, I like the proposal. So based on this experience, then he would have developed some mental model. Oh, my boss always approves the proposal. Whenever I go with whenever I pitch the proposal in such a way that the boss's goals are going to be achieved. Sir, if you do this, our department goal will be achieved like that. So if I pitch like that, my boss will always approve this proposal. So with that idea, he would, next time when he goes with the second proposal, he would implement all his ideas. That is active experimentation. This cycle will continue. So what Kolb says, people will learn if they go through all these phases. Do you remember yesterday I talked about the definition? What is learning? Semi-permanent change in somebody's behavior. That would happen if they go through this cycle once, twice, thrice. And please Google it. You will find a lot of literature, interesting literature on Kolb's learning cycle theory. It's well proven one. You have got a lot of documents available for based on this theory. Even learning style based on this theory, we can group our students into four categories, right? Some people would learn better when they experience something. Some people will learn better when they conceptualize, abstract conceptualization. I had one student who loves to read. She always likes to read, and when whatever subject I talk, then she would give me some book related to that idea. And she wants me to suggest some more books so that she can develop the idea. So like that. And as I told you yesterday, another student who was so interested in that game, then he was sharing his insights from the game. So that is concrete experience. That's an example of concrete experience. So we can group students into four categories based on this model. Again, literature is available for you. Experiential learning methods, whatever the methods that you take, it has got the roots or the theoretical backing from this theory, this framework. Okay. Okay, now what I do in my classroom and experiential learning, I use a lot of games. Being OB HR faculty, I have got the lot of scope to use games. So it doesn't mean that others don't have that scope. No, they also have a lot of scope. For example, operation faculty member, again, they can play some games. Marketing faculty, yes, they can also. Finance, again, the finance and marketing, I think nowadays you have a lot of simulation games, computer simulation games that you can use. But let me share what I do in the classroom so that you will get an idea. Before I start this, I want to know how many of you actually used management games in your classroom, so that I can decide to what extent I should speak about this. Right? Please raise your hand if you have used management games. But again, my network is very slow. I'm not getting the participants list here. Okay, so no, actually, I'm not getting. Can you see the participants list at your end? It's still circling in on my screen. Friends?
So I think it's in the meeting chat.
105.
Okay, I have to close that. Fine, let me see. Okay, how many hands you could see? Can anyone help me? Because I want to know how many of you used management games in your classroom. Just count number of, okay, I could
Sir,
see there. Yes, 13,
40.
14. Yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah, thank you. I'm getting there. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, 20. So out of 90, around 20, so max 30, I could say 30, roughly one third, right? I think I can speak at length about management games. How do you, how I used my classroom. Okay, thank you. Fine. So my PPTs are visible to you now. Okay. Mm. Bridge making activity. This is an ice breaking activity. What I do, I simply divide the students into groups, say 6 or 7 groups, and then each group will have minimum 5, maximum 7 or 8, 7, 5 to 8. That is the size of the group. Minimum below 5, not the group dynamics will not be good. But above 8 also it will be a crowd. So any group activity should be between 5 and 8. Bridge making activity is a nice kind of ice breaking activity wherein I give them some material like newspaper, old newspaper for 5 days newspaper, and then I give them cello tape. Then I give them pair of scissors. That's all. Cello tape and old newspapers and pair of scissors for each group, and I will give them a big hall. And what is the task? They have to make a bridge underneath. How I'm going to test the bridge? Um, I'm going to place some books, maybe OB books, because they carry OB books to my class. So I would ask them, okay, bring. I may put some 10 OB books. You know the size of OB books, right? Like Philip Kotler's size, the same size of OB books. So 10 books I may put on the bridge. The bridge should not collapse. And after putting the books on the bridge, I'm going to pass basketball under the bridge. So it should have that size so that the basketball can roll under the bridge. After taking the load of 10 books, then I won't say even the 10, I won't say the number, but I will tell them it should take maximum load. After taking maximum load, the ball should roll under the bridge. So that is the test. This is the task that I would give, and 30 minutes will be given to them, and they would sit together, and then they start constructing, and a lot of fun would be there. But at the end of the activity, people would be more excited when it comes to testing phase, because that's where the real fun would begin. Even after taking 2 books, then the bridge would collapse. And the bridge, again, people will have a different ideas. So some civil engineers would also be there in the class, and they would give some idea. And that's about the bridge making activity. That's to highlight the importance of working in a group, listening to each other, or understanding the task before they start into doing something. So many students, they wouldn't have understood the task. Then immediately they would start doing something. Somebody would start cutting the paper and all. So at the end of the game, we generally spend a lot of time in debriefing. That's the phase is called debriefing. So we would ask each and every participant to share the experience, or collectively as a group they have to share their experience. That is bridge making. And similarly, egg launcher game is also very interesting. It's a kind of team game only, same ice breaking game. An egg would be given along with some newspapers, sellotape, some straws, some string, pair of scissors. What they should do, they have to prepare a launcher. which means I would go to the third floor of our building, and then I will throw up in the air. Then finally, that structure should help the egg to safely land on the ground. What is the test here? If I open that structure, the egg should be safe. That is egg launcher game. Again, it's a team game. It's a kind of ice-breaking game that we use. The energy level, the fun level, as well as the learning. Fun level and energy level will be high. Learning do happen, but the serious learning, I would say, that would happen in the third game, that is Lost at Sea. I'll explain about that the next slide. But remember, the first two slides, first two games, I use it for ice-breaking session, because developing rapport with the students is very important in a classroom. And even for them also, getting along with each other is also important. So this type of games will work if you're in the first term and you are starting afresh, and many students would have come from different parts of our country, and these type of games would to gel well with each other. Lost at Sea and NASA Survival Task. It's a very interesting game. It's a classic games. I will explain that in detail. Both are similar. The Lost at Sea and NASA Survival Task is a prioritization game. I'll explain, but Prisoner's Dilemma, Bullwhip Effect, both. Prisoner's Dilemma, again, I use to teach some OB concepts like trust, negotiation, environment, negotiation. These are the topics that I can teach by using Prisoner's Dilemma. I'm going to explain all these games, the last four games now, one after another. Lost at Sea, let me explain to you first. Okay. Before that, let me show you the Lost at Sea, the document. Okay. Here, the idea here is the game, a group of students will be given a sheet. In that sheet, the situation would be explained like this. What is the situation? A crew would have met an accident when they are in this Pacific Ocean. Their ship would have got this kind of fire accident, and they had to rescue themselves. They had to save their life as a group of members. And if that is the situation, and we would give them these 15 items like sextant, shaving mirror, mosquito net, water, army rations, maps of. So 15 items would be there in the list, and then we would ask the students to rank them. What is the most important item for their survival? Okay, if they put, say, 25-liter container of water, one, then they think they ranked water as most important item. So in that way, they have to rank all these 15 items from 1 to 50. That is individual ranking. So I would give them some 7-8 minutes for them to read the situation and then rank each item for the first time. That is individual ranking. Then after 8th minute, I would ask them to sit with their group members and then discuss among themselves and then rank the same items like once again and put the fresh ranking in the second step, the second column. So the second column will have the group ranking. So all the group members will have the same ranking, right? Then the third ranking, after I will give some 10 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes. They take some time there because they need to discuss about that situation, right? And then after 15th minute or 20th minute, I would stop the discussion, and then I would give them the expert ranking. That is step number 3. After giving the expert ranking, they have to see the difference and then put that difference in the step 4 and step 5, column 4 and column 5. The difference between 1 and 3 and difference between 2 and 3. So you are getting that, right? Difference between 1 and 3 is that individual error score. right? How far my logic deviated from the expert logic. That is step number 4. Step number 5 is how far the group's logic deviated from the expert's logic. That is step number 5. So with these scores, I will calculate, and then I will give that, when I give the expert ranking, I give them the logic behind that expert ranking, all that. So this is what they do. This is prioritizing game. Lost at Sea is one such game. Like that, you have a lot of games. NASA survival game is also another game. Uh, what is important here is, after having played this game, they have to show me this kind of result. These results are very important for me. Here, this particular score I got from my last class, the first term course, very recent one. Um, so each group had to calculate these scores. Team error score, as I explained to you. Then average individual error score is each individual in the group, their error score divided by total number of people in a group, say 5 or 6 or 7. Then in that group, who got the highest individual error score? That score will also be there. And lowest individual error score, the guy who thought almost close to the expert's logic. So that is lowest individual error score. Based on these, I will calculate the last 3 columns: team functioning, team effectiveness, and team synergy, right? So it's again difference between these two. I'll explain. Here, the winner of this game happens to be the group 2, because team synergy is 5. So what I do, I put all the scores onto the screen, and then I will ask my students, you tell me who is the winner. Then they would analyze, and then they would come out with some reasoning. Sir, synergy is positive, so that team should be the winner. So I would again push them back. Let me, on what basis you say that? Then what do you mean by synergy? I will explain what is synergy. And this is a wonderful game to teach some of the important concepts in OB, in the group dynamics. One is, of course, synergy. Synergy, 2 plus 2 is always greater than 4. But when I teach synergy on abstract level, they comprehend. Okay, synergy means when people come together, their output would be more than the sum of the individual output. So they would have understood the concept in an abstract way. But experiential learning method, we make them to experience something. Out of that experience, we make them to realize, oh, this is what synergy is all about. How the synergy, fortunately in this class, one of the group got 5 as plus 5 as the synergy score. How this can happen? If you analyze carefully, average individual error score is 62.5, right? Which means before starting the game, no one was sure about the correct logic. Okay, lost at sea, no one would have experienced that kind of incident in their lives. That's why it's very unique situation that we give. So all of them are at the same level, same platform. So no one was sure about what is the right logic. So why people join in a team? Because they want to take better quality decisions, right? So that's the reason why they come and join together to form a team. So what is the benefit of team? To take better quality decision. Can I make them to experience that? Yes, Lost at Sea game would help you to make your students experience that synergy. How? 62.5 is the average individual error score, whereas team error score has gone below 62.5, right? So that is the catch here, which means before joining the team, no one was sure, but after joining the group, after discussing the issue in the team, they could take better quality decision. That's what synergy is all about. right? 62.5 is the average individual error score, whereas team error score has gone below than 62.5. Okay, and poorest, and I also tell them teams is not the only way out. Sometimes team may not work. You know the challenges involved in working in teams, right? We all would have experienced. Some people would be social loafing. Some people may not speak up, even though they know the logic better, right? So here in the fifth group, average individual error score is 70. It's very interesting scenario here. But the team error score is 80. It has gone up, which means as an individual, they would have performed well. But if I put them in a group, they would not perform well. Rather, the whole group's performance will go down. That also happens. And sometimes in the corporate world, right? All would come out beautifully out of this game. Then they would realize, yes, sir, this is what happened, minus 32, which means what? So, guys, you remember, this is what I say to my students here. Remember that when you join a team, everything would be all right. No, it's not like that. Sometimes teams may not work the way you want it to work. So everyone has to contribute. Before you expect something in return from the group, you have to contribute. If something goes wrong in the team, you have to take the initiative. All these lessons will come there, right? I'll go further. One is, of course, groupthink. I didn't cover here. Groupthink is another important concept. You know, groupthink here is in a group. People, since they are in a group, they tend to take a larger risk because if something goes wrong, the group is at fault, right? Individual is not responsible. So in that way, they take risk. Sometimes the majority would take decision and minority would be silenced. Even the minority may have that better quality answer. Some of the people in the group, they know the majority of the opinion is not going to work. But you know what they do? They remain silent. They don't speak up. If you ask them why you didn't speak up, I know even if I speak, no one is going to listen. So what is the use in speaking up? So I remain silent. So this is what the symptoms of groupthink. So in a group situation, people may not analyze the situation properly, their issue at hand properly, and they tend to take larger risk. And why? Because some members chose to remain silent. So that problem will always be there in a group. That would come out from this game. So the losing game, I would ask them, what happened? Why you got very high teens error score? Sir, I tried to explain that logic, but no one listened to me here. So in this case also, in group 5, interestingly, group 5, lowest individual error score is 48. In fact, this is one among the lowest individual error score in the entire class. So one guy knows the logic better. That group is a losing group. How is it possible? Right? Ideally speaking, this guy should have convinced others about his logic, correct? Had he convinced his group members, probably the team error score should have been at least 48, right? If not lower than 48. Why? So I would push them. I would ask my group 5 members, what happened? So who got this 48? Somebody would say, sir, I got this 48. So you know the logic. How come, why you could not convince others? No, sir, I tried to convince, but they didn't listen, right? Even I, as a faculty guide on the side, I go and check with every group who is speaking, who's not speaking, who tries to impose this decision onto others, everything I observe. I also share my observation. They also share their observation. And then they would have understood the cost of not speaking up. Somebody would have, this guy would have realized, right? If I don't speak up, this is what going to happen. So in a group, you have to speak up. It's important lesson. Groupthink, synergy. I won't stop there. I will go further. I would introduce 5OB. It's a fundamental interpersonal relationship orientation behavior questionnaire, with which I can tell in a group if all of them want to take by using this instrument we can group people into different categories, right? And I can show them if in a group if most of them want to lead, then there is no one to follow, right? 5OB will tell in a group of 6 people, if 5 of them, it would categorize them into leading type. So if 5 of them are trying to lead, then no one is there to follow these guys, right? So that will come out. So even when you are trying to compose, when you're trying to form a team, how their personality is should also be one of the factors to be considered. That lesson will come out. So a single game will help me to teach, or rather to make my students experience all this phenomenon, right? Just imagine the power of using game to teach these concepts. One, I can simply show them a slide. Groupthink, this is what groupthink all about. Synergy, this is what synergy all about. This is one way. So students may listen to me and they would have understood what this is what groupthink, and then they may move on. Rather, I through this game, I'm going to make them to experience this group thing, the synergy, and imagine that learning that's going to happen. So it would stay with them because they did something in the game, and that's why they would have learned a lot out of that experience. So that is the logic behind this game, right? Hope you are getting that idea behind this. This is next game, bullwhip effect. Oh, this we are not playing. OBH or no. This is being played by operation faculty members, especially in supply chain management. You can again a lot of literature available for you for on this game. The idea is simple. The idea here is suppose if the how the demand forecast is going to have a greater effect on manufacturer throughout the supply chain. Suppose in the coronavirus pandemic situation in a country, I think in Australia, people tried to buy the toilet paper in bulk, right? So suddenly the demand has increased, and how that increase in demand is going to get reflected in retailer, manufacturer, and supplier at different levels in throughout the supply chain. So this will have higher impact when you go from customer to supplier. This is called bullwhip effect, which means it will affect the whole inventory and the planning. It will all the planning will go awry. The reason is suddenly the retailers would start to buy more or start to order more. Okay, because they have sensed that sudden rise in the order from the customers. Right? So the retailers would order more bulk orders. So manufacturers think that okay, I got a lot of orders from retailers. Let me manufacture more. So they will again order more with the raw material supplier. So suppose the problem here is the customer's demand on overnight it may vanish, right? After a week or after a month, you may not find that kind of demand. So what would happen to these people? Definitely manufacturer would have ordered and would have bought a lot of raw material. Retailers would have stocked more than what is required by the customers, right? To demonstrate this bullwhip effect, that is an interesting game that is being played. To make the students realize how these type of demand supply mismatch is going to affect the whole supply chain. Okay, that is bullwhip effect. Prisoner's Dilemma, another interesting game. Oh, this game can be used in many of the management subjects. We use OB, HR faculty members use this game to teach about trust, the importance of collaboration in a team, importance of trusting others, right? Basically the idea here is there's two guys, the two prisoners. They cannot talk to each other. There are four scenarios. These two prisoners, if they confess, each one of them would get 5 years, 5 years. If one of the guys confess, this guy A guys confess, he would be released. But another guy, if he doesn't confess, he would get 20 years. But both of them were involved in some robbery, right? That's why they are prisoners. Now another guy, if the another guy confess, then this guy remains silent, he would be let out. The another guy will get 20 years imprisonment. If both of them remain silent, then it is 1 year. Each one would get 1 year. So the idea, here, this Nash equilibrium is achieved here in this 1 year case. There is a interesting theory behind this prisoner's dilemma game theory, wherein the importance of trusting your partner. So that would come out in negotiation space, right? In many times. So this is how I play this game. The two groups would pick red, red. They would write chit in a chit, red, red. If both the groups, they should not talk to each other in the first 3 rounds. Then the scoring will be like this: +3, +3. And if group A chooses red, the another group B chooses black, then black. The group which chooses black will get +6. If there is a mismatch, then group A will get -6. If next time after seeing their scores go down, the group A will take the revenge now. They will play black and this guy will play red. So +6 and -6. Both of them, if they play black, then -3, -3. So several rounds of this game would be played, and variations are there. After 3 rounds, I may say that now it is time for you to discuss. So I would allow them to discuss for some time and then play this game. Then in that discussion, they would have agreed to play only black, and suddenly somebody would play red, so that the other group members will get lower marks. All would happen. The idea here is each party, in two parties are involved in negotiation, or in an organization also, two departments, many departments are there. If one department focuses on their own goal, then sometimes the organization goal will get affected, because it's a general tendency that human beings tend to safeguard their own interests first, right? In this also, each one wants to maximize the benefit for himself or themselves in a group situation. Rather, why can't they collaborate so that both of them will win? Right? Win-win situation can happen. This is what the whole theory behind this prisoner's dilemma. These are the important lessons that can come out of this prisoner's dilemma game. To optimize the whole, you must sub-optimize the parts. So that is the major learning that would come out of this game. That is prisoner's dilemma for you. Before I go, let me listen to you to what extent you are getting this. And you can share your experience here. So what are the games that you play in your sessions? Anyone? You got the games, right? So far I have explained.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Govind. Yes.
Yeah. Just to respond to this prisoner's dilemma, or this kind of game, and you are from OB HR area, so you understand that psychology is something which is very, very fundamental, and you are aware of that. But my question is, when we teach, why do we teach? Uh, because to me it looks prisoner dilemma is seeding a kind of uh, concept, or seeding something which is apart from the theory that we want to teach, but seeding something which is maybe not converging to the responsible management that we talk about. Because looking at from the prisoner's dilemma, and then it has negative connotation to it, and you see the problem that we are facing in management is a lot of unethical practices, so do you agree with the idea that when we teach, and we teach with such negative connotation, that you have to join hands to get greater benefit to each other, or maybe the pie is fixed, and you have to share that pie instead of increasing the pie. So how are we as a teacher, as a facilitator, look at these kind of games which has some side effects of seeding the things which unknowingly or unconsciously which we teach to students.
Okay. Mr. Govind, yes, the prisoner's dilemma has got out of some experiment, right, done in related to game theory, and it's a game, right? In the game, why this prisoner's dilemma? Because both of them got into some act, right, some unethical act, but we are trying to use that situation to, of course, the situation may be wrong in your opinion. You are right, correct. But we are not focusing on the situation. Rather, we are trying to apply the ideas into some other different situation altogether. How trust is important in a negotiation, as I told you, in negotiation, unless you trust the another guy, that integrative bargaining will not happen, right? Otherwise, it will be, I want to take maximum share, and let me focus on that only. So in that process, we may not listen to others' needs carefully. So our focus is on that kind of learning, not the situation. Situation is created for the purpose of playing some game. That's all. We don't focus on that. We are not going to teach them how to join your hands with others so that both of us gain the maximum by cheating a third party. No, that's not the focus there. Hope I have clarified my position
Yeah,
there.
I know the intention, but my just hunch is about the byproduct of these kind of games. Yeah, I agree with you with the intention that we teach that. So I appreciate, and I understand. But the by I am worried about the byproduct of it, and the whole business management teaching is going, or maybe not consciously looking at some of these things which students buy, and then develop certain mindset, and so
Okay, okay.
sorry, I'm just digressing
Yeah,
from this.
no issues. No, you can check with your students also what did they learn out of this. Maybe that would help you to get some feedback, to get a feel of what they have learned out of this game. You can try a couple of times, then
Yeah,
you
we,
may.
we try, and this has been very old. So we have been trying it, and yeah, I have also learned as part as when I was management student. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sir. I'm taking more time. I think others would take.
No, no. Any other participant wants to share? Please go ahead.
Uh, sir, can I talk?
Yeah, please.
Uh,
Archana.
okay. My yes. So one thing I wanted to share, it is just a experience of my end. If I'm wrong, kindly correct me.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, when we are doing this management games, what happens is today's students' perception is like we have to just take up the class, we have to write the exams, and we need to take up a job. But how to make students understand that these games will give them a practical exposure, and they can be a better managers tomorrow when they join a company.
Yeah.
So as you are such a learned person and you have done such an amazing games, definitely I would implement these games. Seriously, I haven't implemented such complicated and interesting games. Might be a small games, but if students ask that where exactly this is going to be useful for me in future,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
faculty, what kind of explanations can I?
Sure. Sure. Uh, to respond to your question, yes, whenever we play games, sometimes we take the risk of the students just play the game for the sake of getting some fun, and they invariably they may not focus on the learning. So I am aware about that, and I know my students, they're given their age group, they may just simply play the game and then forget about it. Rather, I lot before I play any game, and then I do it in a very structured way. And then debriefing is very important. So let them play the game the way I want them to play. Let them have that fundamentals. After that, the debriefing session is the most important session. That's when I'm going to teach them the lesson. For example, that Lost at Sea game, synergy and group think. The group think is very important in a team situation. Sometimes the students may not speak up. Some in a team situation, right? So others should be aware about this problem, and then they have to encourage those who are silent to speak up. So these are the important take-home points. Even when they join corporate world also, they should realize their role as a team member. As a Once you become a member of a team, you cannot remain silent. This is number one lesson. Otherwise, there is no use of you in the team, right? Number one. Number two, if anyone is silent, you cannot simply bypass them. Listen to them also. So invariably, if you observe people, the students who, when they are working in a team, if seven are there in a team, one or two may not speak up, right?
Yes.
Just see how others are reacting this to this one or two members. They may not even listen to these two, right? What I am trying to communicate here, hey, wait, the one guy has not spoken. What have you done? Have you encouraged this guy to speak up? This is the lesson. Okay, at the end of every game, we have to debrief why I played this game. What did you learn out of this game? These are the topics that I try to teach through this game, and all are there in the textbook, and how you are going to use it in your corporate life. So it is my responsibility to connect all these dots after playing the game. Yes, games, we have to be very structured and careful, because students, they think that, okay, faculty member has got bored with all teaching, so he's decided to play. Let's have fun. They may
Yes.
approach the game in that mindset. Yes,
Yes.
but then they would realize at the end of my class, they realize, oh, the games are very serious business. Even movie also. Okay, I'll explain next movie. I'm coming to that. You
Yes.
may understand how I'm going to use the movies. Yeah. So
Yes,
any
sir.
other one more participant before I
Can I,
move to the next
can
section,
I?
please? Yeah, yeah.
Sir, I'm Dr. Bindu Menon. I
Yes.
want to share my experience. When we are doing game, I'm always getting very good response from students. Sir.
Mm,
Students are really very good involvement, and students engagement for engagement part really it will very helpful. For
correct.
example, for collective bargaining, I used to take Dunkin' Donuts game.
Mm-hmm.
That game means divide students into different groups. One group just like a trade union members, another group management members, and they
Okay.
have to create a contract
Yes.
for as a part of. Sometimes I
Yes.
have to involve. I have to go to the. Sometimes it leads to dispute also. Really, they are involving, and after that, when we teach the theory,
Yeah.
really students can enjoy that. Students can
Yes.
understand. No need to revise the subject again, because that is really helpful to the students. Like OB also. I used to
Exactly.
take I used to take movies. I used to use different types of what we can call management games for team building, attitude, motivation, perception. Really, such students can enjoy. Same time, they can learn lot of theories.
Yes. And it would stay with them forever, and
Sure.
that is very important.
Nowadays are demanding, madam. Then they are bringing some types of games for that purpose. Really, they are taking it very serious way,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they know this is a new techniques of teaching.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's why I really we can enjoy as a teacher from students also. Students are really can give more contributions as a part
Exactly.
of we can call flip classroom.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
You're
Thank
right.
you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good input from you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me move on. I'm going to talk about movie for some time because my colleague is going to spend more time on how to use movies in classes. But still, I want to talk about for 5 minutes so that you will get my unique experience from me. One movie that I want to highlight in this session is this 12 Angry Men. This is again a classic movie used in Harvard also. In fact, I learned about this movie from Harvard practices. This movie, before what I do, I would ask my students to watch this movie before the class. It's available on YouTube, and you can simply ask them to get it ready for themselves. They will do it. The whole class should watch this movie before class. My session starts. Then after, no, before even asking them to watch the movie, I would give them a lot of material. I would show the material to you as well. These are some of the materials that I would show. I would share this documents with them, which these documents will have a lot of questions on that movie, related to that movie. So like this, in the beginning of this clip, we see the foreman suggesting a process so and so. Which behavior did the foreman use and what? So many questions would be there in the document. And I would also share some important information about the movie like this slide, and then each one's character. All 12 characters are there in that movie. So each one's profile and the background plus questions, all would be given to them. So they have to go through those documents carefully before watching the movie. Then they have to watch the movie. Why they should watch the movie? To answer my questions. It's not about just going there and watching some movie and having fun and coming out and forgetting about it. It's not like that. You are going to watch a movie with a purpose. What is the purpose? You answer my questions because your class participation is going to be counted for CP marks in my class. So I have structured my delivery in that way. So they are not going to simply watch a movie and forget. No, they are going to watch the movie with a purpose of answering my questions, right? So with all that preparation, I would want them to watch the movie. And to this 12 Angry Men, what major learning, social influence can be taught, or how to influence others without authority. These 12 angry, again, the story is like that. They have to sit together and decide about some convict, whether to give the punishment or to not to give punishment. So all the 12 members should agree on one decision. That is the catch. It's not majority or minority, that kind of decision. All 12 should agree, yes, this guy is he's a criminal, or no, this guy is not a criminal. So that is the plot of this movie. So it's an amazing movie that can be used to teach a lot of lessons. Again, groupthink, change management, unfreeze, moving, freezing, all these phases can be covered by using this movie. How to influence others without authority. There is a book by Harvard Classic. It's a kind of one of the books in the Harvard Classic series by the title "How to Influence Without Authority." So, some in organizations, we influence others even though we don't have that position power, right? Many people just influence others, make others to do what they want to do because of the relationship or by using their expert. So many methods are there through which you can influence others. So that is an important lesson to be taught to the students. So I use this to teach all this. How to use power, influential tactics, influencing others without authority, or how to take decisions in a group, how to handle problem members in a group. All this will come out. Recent experience, recently concluded term one OB course. Again, my students really appreciated this. Uh, they came with all the answers next class, and I simply asked them to share their learning one after another by using the guidelines that I gave to them, and each one of them gave different perspectives. And they told me, sir, I could connect with this movie with all the topics that you taught in the OB. whether it is synergy or it's a group think or whatever the topics they can easily connect. So that is the success. Movies. This is about movie. And another group
Sir,
is, yeah, please. Yeah.
sir, there is a Hindi version of this movie also.
Yes, yes, you are right.
Yeah.
You are
एक
right. You are right.
एक रुका हुआ फैसला. So
You are right.
I
You
think
are right.
where people don't have that, because there is accent is different in this movie, maybe American or British. So those who want to use this particular movie for Hindi version or that kind of audience, they can use Ek Ruka Hua Faisla. That movie is exactly same that this movie.
Wonderful. I would suggest you to put it in the chat box so that others will get that idea. Yes, you are right. I know about that. Yeah,
Yes.
I asked them to you watch the movie with subtitles on so that they can easily connect. Even the accent problem may be gone. But I like this classic one. Even a different version is also there in English, the recent version. But again, this is a real classic. Let me move on to the next set of experiential learning method called role play exercises. Mm, Again, it's another important technique to be used in a classroom. I use role play technique to teach negotiation. I'll show you the my preparation for that. And have you got some mail from Isha today, the afternoon? I sent you some articles to all of you. Can anyone respond to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir,
One
got
of
it, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
one of the
please.
articles. Yeah, thank you. One of the articles focused on how to teach negotiation by using role play methods. In fact, I played that game. I played that role play exercise as well. But I also developed my own version of role play exercise by designing this. I'm showing this to you now. Again, thanks to my experience in Coimbatore when I worked in an engineering firm. We used to supply to Ashok Leyland and other automotive manufacturers the engineering spare parts. Based on that experience, I developed this role play exercise. The role play exercise is simple. I am going to divide the class into groups, four groups: Premier Auto Parts, one group; Auto Links. They are the suppliers, the component suppliers, and another two groups, Tata Motors and Mahindra. These guys, they procure the spare parts from the suppliers, like from Premier Auto Parts and Auto Links. So each one, this is the role play sheet that will be given to each group. So a group that gets Premier Auto Parts may not see the other roles, Auto Links role. Similarly, the group that gets Premier Auto Parts may not see even Tata Motors and Mahindra. So these are all invisible. These are visible only to the group that they are going to play that particular part. So the task here is Ashok Leyland and Tata Motors, they need this spare part, one particular item. How many per annum is mentioned? BATNA, you must be knowing, best alternative to negotiated agreement. That is 135 that is given, current credit period, lead time expected. So all the informations are given for the manufacturer. So for the spare part supplier also, same, all the information is given. So they will not show all this, they will not reveal all this information to others. Rather, the task before them is, from manufacturer's perspective, how to sign the contract with the clauses in your favor. In other words, the Tata Motor should get the contract at the least possible price, right? And for the automobile spare part supplier, they want to sign the contract with the major manufacturer at the highest possible price, with the lowest credit period possible. With all that constraints are there. So I would make them to play this exercise. What is the idea? What I want to teach them? I want to teach them all these concepts. Explain. Just a minute. Yeah. These are the concepts that I want to teach. One is BATNA, of course. What is BATNA? The best alternative to negotiated agreement. which means before you go to the negotiation table, do you have, suppose if the negotiation fails, what is the best alternative available to you? So if you have strong BATNA, you have more power. So you can dictate terms. So those things will come out from this role play exercise. And I can teach about integrative and distributive bargaining strategies. Distributive bargaining is pie is fixed and let's divide this, the fixed pie. Integrative is let's increase the size of the pie so that you will, I'll give up something with the hope that you will return some favor in the future next time. That is integrative, right? Or listen to others' needs carefully so that you will also try to compensate in some other way, but you get the best deal now. So all these will come out of this negotiation. The meaning of BATNA, most importantly. So the lesson here is before you go for negotiation, strengthen your BATNA. How to strengthen your BATNA? Maybe you have to do your groundwork. Maybe you should have checked the automotive manufacturer at what price they are buying the items, from whom they are buying the items, at what terms that they are buying. So you have to do this groundwork before you go for the final negotiation. Very important lessons, right, in management to develop the negotiation skills. Those things can be taught by using role play exercises like this. Uh, Team process. Yes, I have one more game there. 1 second, I'll show you. Yeah. Again, these are the roles that I would give them. Around 10 or 12 students would be seated in a round fashion, and I would, each one of them will get roles like this. Be yourself is one role, gatekeeper, whisperer. Sometimes this guy would periodically engage nearby people in side conversation, advice seeker, side tracker. Some one of the student will get this role. Don't speak anything, be silent. I just want to see others' reaction to this person, right? All this interrupter, monopolizer, somebody I want, deliberately I want him to monopolize. Expert, fighter, complainer, all. Why I'm giving all these roles? Again, to communicate, to teach the idea how to conduct a team meeting or how to take a decision in a team, because sometimes you will find these type of characters in a team. Again, this has got something related to OD, organization development. We call that team process observation. Okay, that is process observation. There is a OD intervention called process observation. From there, we teach how you can behave in a team environment. Right? Role play can also be done during case discussion. Also, sometimes cases will give you the scope for you to play that role play. Sometimes two actors in the case, after discussing the case for some time, you can ask them to play that role play that characters. Yeah, I have some cases like that in HRM, how the performance appraisal scenario would be there. And this guy would expect some promotion. The boss is going to say no promotion, but some other thing. So how are you going to communicate to your subordinate that you are going to say no to the promotion, the proposed promotion, or the promised promotion when you recruited this guy? So that is the scenario. So that can be done also during case discussion. These are the experiential learning methods. Yes. Learning journal is another method that I use. This comes under one of the Kolb's learning model, reflective observation. As I told you, students that experience, they need to reflect upon that experience. Only then they can develop some mental models, right? This can be done even a minute paper. Some of you may be knowing about this minute paper. I'm sure you would have used this in your class. That is, at the end of the class, you ask them to spend some minute to write about the major learning that they can take from home from the class. That is a very small assignment, but the true learning journal, you are going to ask the student to develop a journal reflecting upon their experience throughout the course, right? These are some of the questions or the guidelines that I give to my students. You can go through them with self-explanatory. The idea here is they should not repeat. Sometimes my students, what they do, they record whatever has been done in the class. Class session number 1, sir, you did this, that, this. They clearly they record and then they submit. So this is what you want. Then I used to wonder, come on, this I didn't expect this from you. I know what I have done. But again, I see they settle down what the lower order learning needs. They have to reflect upon their experience, right? They have to connect. They should connect the teaching, the classroom experience with their outside world. They should be able to connect. Yesterday, I showed you one definition. Learning is all about making connections, classifying, connection, grouping, and then so that's where I push them, the students, to by making them to write this journal. I'm pushing them to get into the higher order learning space. It's not easy. Again, my students again resist my intention. They would say, "Sir, it's very difficult for me to write the journal because I have to remember." Come on, yeah, you need to do that. You're staying with me for 3 months, which means the entire journey you have to record. You have to reflect on your experience, learning experience, and then you submit to me. Yes, sometimes yes. Some of the courses I made it mandatory, and they submitted. And when I go through them, it's a real satisfaction you will get. Okay, then you will realize to what extent your students can go and connect the topics that is being discussed in the classroom with their outside world. So these are the guidelines for you to give that assignment. Learning journal is another wonderful tool to be used as a internal assessment purpose. These are the other learning, experiential learning methods that I use. Team projects, very well structured. Lot of thought process has to go in there before you assign some projects to them. That should give them some scope to collaborate with each other. Presentation, and then peer feedback. I ask the peers, others to give feedback. Problem-based learning is another tool, but again, from personal experience, I'm trying my level best to get some real-time projects, but still I could not completely implement this idea of problem-based learning. It's another important tool or learning methods that we can use. Social immersion program, you can assign, ask them to spend some time with some NGOs or some social relevant projects, and then they can come and share that experience. Real case scenario. This is yeah. I did this in my class. I developed a case, and it got published in IV. And I invited the protagonist to my class, and I discussed the class before him. And towards the end of the class, he shared his opinion or comments. That would be the wonderful experience for the students. The protagonist is sitting there, and we are discussing the case before him. And then just imagine the learning from the case discussion. Fishbowl questions and in-basket exercise are some other methods to be used by you in the B school scenario. And you have got a lot of literature on in-basket exercise as well. I think I have included one article on this in the zipped file. This is my last but one slide. If you want to know more about these type of games, one best source is Pfeiffer's manual. You can Amazon, you will get this Pfeiffer's manual, and then another source is Journal of Management Education. These are important resources for you to find out some innovative methods for you to teach.
Sir, can I ask one question?
Please.
Sir, it is indeed a very great session for all of us and great learnings. Sir, actually, can you please throw some light on fishbowl question? What is that
Okay.
fishbowl question?
Right. I'm just rushing because 4 o'clock. Suddenly, I saw this watch. No issues.
Yeah.
I'll ask fishbowl questions. In fact, I
And
have
sir,
prepared
one
some.
more question, sir. The games which you discussed during the class, are these games free? Are these games available for free? Can we use
Yes,
this game?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Very much. Yeah.
So is it freely available on online?
Yes, you can. You can. Yes, it's available. It's available. You can use them. Yes, just Google
And
them.
sir,
You
can
will
you
find.
please, yeah, and can you please throw some lights in basket exercise?
Sure.
Can you please give some example related to this?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'll.
thank you so much.
This 4 o'clock. I started at 2:30, right? I have to stop at 4 o'clock. Can you give 5 more minutes, please, participants, friends? I will complete 5 minutes, right? Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Senthil.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. No problems.
Yes. Fishbowl technique. I use this in relation to Johari window technique. I'm sure you must be knowing about Johari window, wherein how important for the students to know about themselves and by asking feedback from others, and how important for them to share about themselves to others so that others will have better idea about them, right? This is about sharing about you and getting feedback from others so that the team, in a team environment or in the interpersonal relationship will be higher, will become smoother. So that is the idea behind this Johari window. In that context, I use this fishbowl technique. Fishbowl technique is simply I'm going to print this in a chits, then roll it and put it in a bowl, and I'm going to ask students to come and pick one chit, and whatever is explained here, they have to do that. For example, these are the tasks: your happiest, saddest holiday memory, or your most or least enjoyable travel experience, or an accomplishment that you worked hard to attain. So like this, these are the tasks that they have to speak about. For about 5 minutes they have to speak about all this. So they come and then take some chit, that they take some 1 minute time to collect their thought, and then they have to share whatever has been explained here with the students, with others. Why? Because for to develop trust, we cannot be a black box, number one, right? If we don't trust others, no one is going to trust us. And for that, again, for interpersonal relationship, to build in order to build interpersonal relationship, you need to um, talk about you so that others can connect with you. Suppose if I am a aloof guy, I'm a black box type. I don't want to speak about I want everything to be secret. Then you cannot develop relationship with others, right? Because they don't know anything about you. And if I am not bothered to get feedback from others, then I am not developing. So I may think that I am a friendly person, but others may have a different opinion, correct? So to break all this, the first step here is you talk about you. You say something about you. But again, what to say, what not to say, again, there is a limitation, right? You cannot share everything about you with everyone. There is some personal space that we also cover in that context. This is the fishbowl questions. These are the fishbowl questions, right? Like this. A time you realized you had made a mistake, how you handled it, and what you learned from it. And so many tasks are there. This is fishbowl. And in basket exercise is another. Let me, do I have that? No, I don't have that. Okay, in basket exercise, it's there in the collection, I think. Uh, this I have used in basket exercise. Assume that employee is a typical day for an employee. He is walking into the office, right? Then there are 15 tasks waiting for him to get his attention. So, like a phone call from your boss, maybe the first item. Second item, a client called you for urgently, he want to talk about something. Yep, there is a meeting with a prospect. This is for the sales executive. For us, as a sales executive, you have got 15 tasks waiting for you. Prepare coffee for you, or going for a gym and do some exercise. And there is a need for you to pick up your sister from dancing class and then drop at home at some time. So a list of tasks will be there, and as a sales executive, which task you would prioritize? You would say, sir, I want to attend my boss first. then there would be some question: why boss? Why can't another task waiting for you equally important? A client has called you. Then this guy has to explain why I'm selecting one task over other. His logic behind selecting the task. In that way, we can observe his mindset, his behavior. Again, as a sales executive, is he behaving professionally or not? Right? And the importance of prioritizing different tasks. So these lessons can be taught by using in-basket exercise. In fact, this is one of the important tool to be that people use in assessment center. In corporate world, we call that assessment center to assess the potential of an employee before promoting this guy to the next level. So in-basket exercise is one of the tools that they use to assess to how he prioritizes and what is the logic that he gives. Why he is prioritizing boss over the client, or client over the boss, or home over this work over home. All this, the work-life balance will also be embedded in the task. So that is in-basket exercise. Okay, I think I'm going to miss that, but you asked me, so I
Thank
explained
you
it.
so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
I've
So,
covered the topic.
Fishball, sir, actually, you have said that we can apply the Johari windows theory, and we can ask a few questions from the students related to their personality traits, and student whosoever is participating and can get any chit or and get any slip from that particular bowl, so he or she needs to participate into that. Is it so? Am
Exactly.
I correct?
You're right. They
Okay.
have to enact that role. So as I told you, saddest or happiest occasion that you ever experienced. So this guy has to talk about it, right?
Okay.
The biggest
Okay.
blunder that he had made. And if believe me, all these questions has got some logic. I have a literature on that. It's not like randomly I'm asking. No, we have some logic and reason behind asking them to do the task. Yes.
Uh, yes,
Yeah.
sir. Sir, one more question, sir. Actually, I teach business communication. So,
Okay.
sir, if I'm going to apply these techniques of experiential learning, for example, fish bowl question and in basket experience, how can I relate with the theoretical concepts of and theories of business communications with the technique of fish bowl questions?
Business communication, in fact, has got a different set of games altogether, I would say. You
Okay.
have very interesting games for you for business communication because you would be focusing on listening skills. Listening skills, I have a different set of games. These two, fishbowl and in basket, is more to do with organizational behavior concepts, I would
Okay.
say. Because these fishbowl questions are just to make them to share, make them to speak about themselves. Simple. Actually, I'm pushing them to speak about themselves, and I'm making others to listen carefully. In fact, I would ask the listeners also a lot of questions. Can you tell me what did he communicate? Then they would tell, sir, emotion is there. So many things are there in fishbowl questions.
Okay.
Some very detailed planning is required, and logic is there behind each question, right? Yeah. In basket
Okay.
exercise is also like that. It's a sales in the context of sales executive. Yes, I have seen in basket exercise. Mm, or a professional manager, in a typical manager, how he would prioritize. I can analyze his behavior. That's all. For a business communication, in fact, very interesting different games are there for you.
Can you please suggest some of the games in business
Sure,
community?
I will definitely. Please, can you? I'm going to share my.
Email
So,
ID, sir.
yeah, sure. This is
Yeah,
one
sure.
of the books that you can refer. Five First Manual. Another one is Journal of Management Education. And this is my last slide. And you take my mail ID. FTP is an occasion to network each other, right? Unfortunately, we were unable to host you in our campus. We have such a beautiful campus. We also missed the opportunity to meet you in person. We also missed the opportunity to host you. But again, let this occasion be the starting point for our relationship. You can take that mail ID for any guidance or assistance. Of if I am of any help to you, I will be happy. Just write a mail, drop me a mail
Thank you so much, sir.
about the resources that you want. Whatever I have, I'm definitely I will share. So that's
Thank you
all
so
from my side.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your blossoms of knowledge on us. Sir,
Thank
thank
you.
you so
Welcome.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Senthil, once more, let me thank you at the end of two fantastic sessions that you engaged. Okay, content rich, well explained, okay, well arranged, and importantly, fantastically delivered. Okay, so thank you, and I'm sure the participants over here would have definitely taken a lot from here. It had a lot of content. Let me tell you, I myself learned quite a few things. Having sat through the session. Okay, so quite a few, I know, eye-opener exercises and a lot of games that he suggested. So thank you, sir. Okay, and hope that
Welcome.
IMT can assist you in some of your quest to know more in the fields of management and classroom engagement. So do not hesitate, write back to us. His email ID is there, my email ID is there, official email ID is there. You just have to write down whatever you need, and whatever little that we have, we'll definitely try and share.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
with those words, let's close the day and we catch up again tomorrow at 10. Okay, we have a professor from IIT Jodhpur, Dr. Singh, and he'll be talking on using internet resources, okay, to engage a class. Okay, young professor who was with IMT Nagpur, okay, but now is serving IIT Jodhpur. Okay, so with these words, let's close the day. Have a happy evening, okay, and a great, a happy and great evening and a good night. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a great session, sir. We are
Thank you.
privileged.
Thank
We are
you.
privileged, sir.
Thank you.
Hello,
Thank you, sir.